Hey everybody, so welcome back to Jim Bob's Garden. Thought I'd do this video in a nice shady spot here in the yard. You notice it's getting warm out. I got my flip-flops on. Finally flip-flop weather here in Jacksonville. But what I want to talk to you about is basically how to grow a garden basically for free, completely free, without spending a single solitary dime. Alright, and you're like, oh come on now, that's just not possible. Well, no, actually, it is. All right, now, is this the best way to grow a garden? No, I mean, you know, there are some things that you can spend money on. Like I've spent a lot of money on my garden, but mostly that's to make things better. I can grow this garden without spending a dime. Now, how are you going to go about doing that? Well, let's start with where you're going to dig it at, or where you're going to start a garden. Okay, I'm assuming that you are looking at this video because you want to start a garden and you think that you have a spot picked out. You got to find a spot with some sun and hopefully some fertility in the soil. And a great indication of that is if you're growing grass in a yard somewhere, and the grass grows really well there. It's nice and thick, and when you're mowing your yard, you find that that's one spot where the grass comes in real nice. That's a great spot to pick, you know, to grow a garden. Which direction it faces and all that, that's all academic, really. All right. Find a spot where things tend to grow very well, and that's going to be your best bet for a garden. All right, because I mean, if it's got enough sun to grow grass, it's got enough sun to grow vegetables. With that being said, if you're renting, you may want to ask your landlord, but I will tell you honestly, it's better sometimes to beg for forgiveness than to ask permission. So dig it up. Worst comes to worst, I mean, you can replace it with sod later on when you're fixing to move. But the bottom line is you just got to dig up a spot where things will grow. Well, I don't have a shovel. And don't get me wrong, you know, tools to grow a garden can be expensive. But you can borrow tools, all right? I'll about guarantee you, somebody in your family, somebody in your church, somebody at work, somebody you know right now has a shovel they'll let you borrow. Even better, they might have a tiller they'll let you borrow. I mean, the first time I grew a garden here in Jacksonville was out at Atlantic Beach, and my neighbor across the street had a tiller, and I borrowed his tiller and tilled up my garden. It made life a lot easier. You know, I bought a little bit of gas for him, and he was happy, I was happy, and I had a garden. As far as how to go about digging up a garden, I mean, really, you just got to dig it up. I have several videos on how to dig a basic garden, like when I did this shade garden back behind here. If you look that up online, I'll get a link to it here. But I did that with a shovel just to show that it can be done. All right, all you need is a shovel. If you can get a tiller, even better. But you don't need to buy this. I mean, you're only going to use it once, unless you dig a second garden, and then maybe you borrow it again. All right, so you don't have to buy tools to garden. You can completely borrow the basics, and then from there on you can use your hands. And you know, if you decide at some point to buy tools, you know, again, that's an expense that will make things easier for you, but is not absolutely necessary. Then you got to find some seeds. So finding seeds, most people tend to buy seeds. Now, how can you buy seeds? Well, obviously you can buy them anywhere, but one of the things, like if you're broke and don't have a lot of money for whatever reason, I'm not getting into your business, but if you get EBT or food stamps, most places you can buy seeds for gardening with EBT and food stamps. Another way you can do it, I'm going to show you another video where I walked around Walmart, and I'll show you some of the vegetables that you can buy that you might be buying right now to feed your family that come with seeds. I mean, fruits and veggies are the plant seeds. That's where the seeds come from. Now, when you do this, you want to make sure that the products you're getting are ripe. Okay, and I'll go into that here in a little bit, but basically you have to have ripe fruits and vegetables to have ripe seeds in order for them to germinate and grow. Alright, so let me show you this, and then we'll come back to this. So you can take seeds directly from tomatoes and plant them in the garden. You just got to dry them out a little bit. Peppers. Now I would recommend more ripe peppers. Even onions, you can take the bottom root section off the onion once you've used it and replant that. Cucumbers, not so much. Pineapples can go off the top. I've got videos for that. And in peppers, you want to get the red peppers. They're more ripe. They'll tend to grow a lot better. Potatoes, every time you get a potato that starts to grow in your pantry, that's a great thing to grow. And then you can take the seeds right out of squash. Zucchini, you can take the seeds out of zucchini and plant those. Corn, just let the corn dry off on the cob and you can pull the seeds off of that and grow that in your garden as well. There's just a ton of different seeds that you can get just from stuff that you bought to eat. And then you can also take garlic and plant one or two of the cloves and grow the cloves and still use the rest of the garlic. Alright, some other ways that you can get free seeds or free plants is ask around. I'll give you an example. When I planted all of my seedlings this year, I had a lot of extra seedlings that I don't really have a spot for. And I give them away to friends. As a matter of fact, I've been working with my neighbor over here. He's got some varieties of tomatoes, I got some others, and we swap them back and forth. Also, you can get cuttings. Certain plants, like one of my favorites that I grow around here is the longevity spinach. It grows great from cuttings. And if you know somebody that's got some, say, hey man, can I get a small cutting of that so I can grow it in my yard? Some other plants that grow well from cuttings, I know basil will grow from cuttings. A lot of different places, a lot of different edible plants will grow from cuttings. And I'm gonna do a video on that. I'm gonna do some experimentation and do a video on what I can grow from cuttings. Tomatoes will grow from cuttings. So if you got a friend or a neighbor that's growing tomatoes, say, hey man, when you go to pulling off your suckers off your plants, can I get a couple of those so I can plant them? And that's completely free. I mean, I'm assuming your neighbor isn't going to charge you for it. But that's one way where you can get free plants to plant in your garden. Another thing that we don't have here in Jacksonville apparently, but in St. Augustine, they have something called a seed library. So you go to your local library and they have free seeds that you can get from the library. Now, I'm not sure exactly how it works. My assumption would be that at the end of the year, it would be expected that you would return some seeds from your production. But that is a resource that a lot of places are getting more into now. Something called a seed library. Look it up online and see if you have one locally in your neighborhood. Another thing is other gardeners. Gardeners are kind of different. And we like to talk about gardening, and we like to help other people out with gardening. It's one of those things that it just seems so much better to share your knowledge and get other people excited about it than it is to try and hold it all privately and keep that knowledge to yourself. So you might find, for example, when you buy a packet of seeds, oftentimes the home gardener has more seeds in that packet that they can use in their garden. Now, depending on the size of the garden, of course. And you might find that you can, ask for, hey man, you got any extra seeds left over? Even some old seeds from last year. That's one way that you might be able to get some free seeds. Also, I know that there are some food pantries and churches that also offer up free seeds as part of the food pantry process. And I think more should. Alright. And then lastly, when it comes time to harvest. Well, what about all the tools I need to harvest? Well, believe it or not, you can harvest almost everything in your garden with very little or to no expense. I'm sure you're somewhere around the house you got a pair of scissors. Scissors will cut almost any leafy green. And in fact, I find it a lot easier to bring a pair of scissors out here to cut my greens than to bring any other kind of tools. Anything else that's a little tougher, a basic kitchen knife will give you the tool that you need to basically harvest almost anything. Now, the exception to that would be when it comes time to dig up root vegetables and stuff. And here in Jacksonville particularly, we have very sandy soil, so it's really easy to get your hands down in the dirt and dig it up with that. But you can always go back to that same person that loaned you the shovel and say, hey man, can I borrow that shovel again to dig up what I need? Or even better, if they have a fork, a potato fork is what I call it, to grow that. So there are a ton of ways to start gardening for free. You don't have to spend a dime. You don't have to spend any money whatsoever to grow food in your backyard if you don't want to. Now, if you got a few pennies, you know, like a pack of seeds at Walmart, you got some that go all the way down to $1.50, others that go $3.50, $4.50. But seeds are reasonably cheap, believe it or not. And if you look at what it would cost you to buy the produce that you're going to grow, you'll find that it's a great investment. Okay? So, we covered a lot of things, talked about, you know, finding a spot, digging it up, and how you can go about doing that for free. Talked about ways you can get some free seeds. You know, you can either get it from the fruits and veggies that you're eating now, or even, shoot, you could go to if you're at a restaurant and they're serving salad, get them little cherry tomatoes, take one home with you, open it up, take the seeds out, let them dry out on a napkin, and plant those seeds. They'll grow. I mean, you may not get the exact variety, but they will grow and you will have food. Check for seed libraries. And then as far as harvesting, the tools that you need to harvest, you either already have them, like I said, scissors, a kitchen knife, or you can borrow them. You know, find somebody that you know that has a garden or just has tools, you know, and like I said, you know, I'm sure you know somebody in your church, at work, in your family, you know, mother-in-law, father-in-laws and mother-in-laws and friends. Somebody's got the tools and will let you borrow them, you know, and make sure that you take them back and treat them well, because otherwise they won't want to let you borrow them again. All right, so you don't have to spend a dime to grow food in your yard. You can do it completely for free. The last thing I'll leave you with is, if you do grow successfully and you want to do this again next year, look at how to save seeds from your existing garden. One of the things I pay attention to here in my garden is collecting seeds from my existing crops so that next year I won't have to pay as many. This corn is an example. This is just an ear of corn. It wasn't even the best ear of corn, but that's an ear of corn that has seeds on it. You can see I've actually taken some of the seeds off already. All right, that will grow. All right. There is a process to collecting seeds from a lot of different vegetables, and I'll go into that more as this year goes on. And I think I have a couple of videos on collecting seeds. But once you do get things to grow, then by all means, you know, think about letting some of it continue to mature, and you'll be able to collect seeds from that so that you won't have to pay for next year's seeds either. All right, so thank you for stopping by. I appreciate you taking a look at my videos, and I want you to know that you don't have to be wealthy to grow a garden. You don't even have to have any money to grow a garden. It does make it easier. There are things that you can buy and spend money on that will help you with your gardening, and that will help you grow a better, stronger, larger crop, but they're not necessary. People have been growing gardens for thousands and thousands of years, and I mean, gardens go back to long before money ever did. All right, so money is not necessary to grow a garden, but we do have some modern conveniences that you can buy that will make it easy. All right, so anyway, thanks again for stopping by. Do me a favor, give me a like and a subscribe. Let me know what you think, and most importantly, grow something. Even if you're doing it for free, it can still be done. All right, y'all take care and come back and see me.